I'm here at Dew Burns Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. My name is Jason Hevel. My guest at this time is Payne. How long have you been in the pro wrestling business?
Pro wrestling. I got into pro wrestling when I was actually just before I turned 17. So at this rate, 7 years at this point. Yeah, about 7 years.
Who were some of your influences growing up?
It's easy actually. Initial influence as a little boy was like Hogan. As times Hogan and Warrior were two of the biggest, good guys to watch. So I obviously liked them. Then as times changed, or not even so much as times changed, it turned to like Hogan, Warrior, Bret Hart, the Road Warriors. Then once I started like watching WCW, turned into Sting and Flair were guys I really liked, and then Arn Anderson. As I grew up, my taste for wrestling continually changed and changed and changed and changed. When ECW came around, I think Taz became like a huge influence for me, or Shane Douglas was a huge influence for me. Then going into like watching independent wrestling, guys like Punk and Danielson, those guys became like huge influence of who I wanted to become, not only as a wrestler on the aesthetic side, but even like how I wanted to be that type of guy.
How did you think of your character?
How do I think my character? Then or now?
The American Psycho.
The American Psycho. I like it, honestly, first of all. I think it's given me a lot of legs, to tell you the truth. I've always wanted to be an intense character. I've always wanted to be an intense individual. I think it's the way I've always presented myself. And I love horror movies, for one. And I looked at it like, well, no one uses that name. And if you see my Facebook, the Facebook picture is me, kind of in a Michael Myers sort of look with a knife in the hand, and Kimberly actually in the reflection, because she's a valet of mine in other places. I kind of use her in all of my artwork. So I'm like, wow, I want to use. I love wrestling. I have a passion for wrestling and horror movies. So then I parlay that into professional wrestling, put that together as my psychotic, creepy wrestling gimmick, and that's where I've kind of established that. That's why I like.
What other federations have you competed in?
Well, most of you may know, I wrestled Ring of Honor, now CZW, obviously RCW here. I wrestled off and on for Chikara when I first started getting into wrestling. Plenty of NWA affiliates, one of which, NWA Force One, which I have a hell of a lot of fun in. I think it's one of the best Jersey companies I've ever wrestled for. I've wrestled in New York, places I wrestled in, some places still around, some still are around. Sorry, I'm a little frustrated still because my head's still looking unpleasant from this eye right here if I'm going to look at it even some more. But no, I have a good number of places to work.
What pro wrestler on TV today relates to you?
It's me. Honestly, I'm a fan of watching like Punk, honestly, or Punk and Brian, two guys that I enjoyed watching years ago, and I still enjoy watching them now. But as an overall character that I can relate with, there's nobody, honestly. That's not saying take anything away from anybody on television. It's just my character versus them. Putting the two together, I don't see a relation.
What are your goals for the rest of your career?
What's the rest of my career? Well, I've hit a lot of goals. I've had the opportunity to wrestle for Ring of Honor. I trained there, so I'm happy with that. I wrestled in Pro Wrestling Noah, which was a dream come true for me, and if I can go back there, I'd love to. If it's not for Noah, I'll have to go back to Japan for either New Japan, 0-1, or whatever. Honestly, I want to go back and have the opportunity to wrestle in front of those people. The Japanese crowd is a beast of its own, and to have the opportunity to go over and wrestle in front of a couple thousand people at a house show, or more than like thousands of people on television, that's a goal. But if I was to say honestly, my dream would be wrestling, in WWE. Whether I don't see myself ever main eventing WrestleMania, but there's always been this clamoring dream of me wrestling for the Intercontinental Championship. As goofy as it may sound, especially now that they brought in the old belt, and
Actually, they did bring the old belt.
yeah, they brought in the old belt, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this part of me is like, guys like Warrior and Michaels and Brett that had that version of the strap. I'd be totally satisfied wrestling for that. And hell, wrestling for that company, wrestling for WWE, honestly, would be any pro wrestler's goal, I would imagine. And that's mine too.
Who were you trained by?
I was trained by Austin Aries, and then I was trained by Brian Danielson. And honestly, probably for the last 3 or 4 years, I spent a lot of time wrestling with Delirious, training with Delirious. So I would have to say all 3 of them have had some sort of influence on me as a professional wrestler. When I was over in Noah, Ricky Marvin helped me out a lot. Yasushi Aoki, Shuei Taniguchi, and Go Shiozaki, they all helped take part in my training while I was in the dojo.
If they made a movie about you, who would play you and what would the title be?
Oof. Interesting. Who would play me and who would play me? Well, honestly, if anyone made a movie about me, I'd hope I'd be playing myself, to tell you the truth. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to come back to you about that.
Who's better in your opinion, WWE or TNA?
Now here comes controversy, didn't you? Overall, I'd have to go with probably WWE. There seems to be at least a better direction, a lot of overall better wrestlers, I guess, to say. Some people don't like the products, but I think overall they're the best company that seems to have a better direction between those two, of where they're going with things or how they want their shows to turn out. When you watch TNA, it's like they seem to have, they throw this idea at you, bam, throw that idea at you, bam, and and they just kind of throw so many things at you that you don't know what's gonna stick to the wall. And if something does stick, they stick to it, but then you can say, they should look this way, look things that way. And sometimes, yeah, maybe they should have changed the direction of their booking, or instead of shotting this or that or whatever. But I mean, their business, I guess they know what they're doing. But overall, I'd probably say WWE as just a stronger point.
What has been the toughest match you've competed in?
Oh, that's the toughest match I've competed in. Well, I'll tell you one. It was physically just abusive to me. I was over in Japan, and I teamed with Kenta and Yone against Takeshi Morishima, a guy named Okita, who was a trainee of Kazuki Sasaki, and my team. Why am I blanking? Kenta? No, Kenta's on my team. Ingo. I'm sorry, Ingo. And you have 2 guys that are genuine heavyweights. A guy who's kind of like teetering the junior heavyweight banner, and I got beat. I got beat and abused. My chest was so beat red afterwards, black and blue. It was tough. It was the hardest physical match I think I've ever dealt with in my life.
Have you won any titles in your career?
Yes, one actually. It was the NWA Force One Tag Team Championship. Anything else?
Hold on.